So, you've accepted the gift you should not have accepted from someone, and it was not Santa Claus. Ouch. Now you have a problem, an ethical problem.
Hi, I'm Timothée Tosti. So today we are talking about ethics. Since a few months here in Switzerland, we had several cases of embarrassing stories of politicians accepting gifts they should not have accepted. And this inspires this video because there seem to be no proper guidelines from the parties and nothing much in the rules, regulations, and laws. So, I want to share with you some work I did a few years back on ethics for journalists. There are many interesting things in this area, and we will see how we can use this to build an organizational culture. Then, by the end of the video, in relation with this topic of ethics, I will share with you the story of my encounter with a Minister of Security in Africa. But before we start, if you haven't subscribed yet to this channel, please do so by clicking on the red button below the video. Thank you very much. So, journalism is all about facts and giving all sides equal possibility to voice their opinion about these facts. And journalists have guidelines to help them do their work. If you want a really good example, you can check the New York Times Ethical Journalism Handbook. I'll put the link in the notes below and you can check it out. It's very detailed. Now, there is a lot to say about journalism ethics and how they cover daily news, their biases, their search for audience, and for making the buzz. Let's leave this aside for this video and keep the reflection on what journalism ethics should be. For this, I want to share with you some work I did a few years back for a journalist NGO. In this NGO, there were very precise professional and ethical guidelines for the staff operating the media. These guidelines were all in written form, tens of pages. And what I did is to translate these documents into graphical representations showing the relation between things. That made it way easier to understand. And it all fitted on 4 big posters. They are still in use in some newsrooms. So, here is the poster for ethics, and it can take from 2 to 4 hours to cover everything in a proper training session. For this video, we will just see the essence of it. And the core idea is the border between professional and personal sphere and who we are on both sides. As a person, as individuals, we all have needs, wants, preferences, opinions, dreams, interests, passions, beliefs, worldviews, conception of society, financial matters, and so on. And we interact with other individuals in that personal sphere: family, friends, relations, acquaintance, who also deal with the same type of things. As professionals, we have some duties. We follow rules, we do things in a certain way, we act for an organization, we serve customers. And in that sphere, we also interact with other professionals. The thing is that there is no clear border here, and what happens in your personal life can have an impact on your professional life. Problems occur when you're linked to a situation with some type of interests at stake on both levels, personal and professional. That's called a conflict of interest. Then there is this dimension of what you represent. As a professional, you represent the organization you're working for. And if we extend things even a little further, you represent the entire profession. So something, an action or a behavior you might consider as personal, can have an impact, can be harmful all the way to the entire profession. Basically, the more you mix things, the higher the potential of problems you get. That's what happened with Swiss politicians. Let's take the example of a journalist. It's clear that a journalist in the political section cannot be a political activist in his spare time. Neither should he have anyone around him holding a significant political position. This could entirely discredit his articles and the organization he is working for. Furthermore, it could also discredit the entire profession. And to be clear, that really doesn't mean the journalist cannot have opinions or preferences. It just means that it has to stay in the personal sphere, and it has to be monitored regularly, considering the fact that it could have an impact on the professional sphere. To make this example even clearer, if this journalist in the political section has a passion for butterflies, it's perfectly fine if he shares this passion on a blog on his spare time. Now, how does all this is of any interest for you, as you are maybe not a journalist or a politician? Well, take a look at the Me Too movement. There it is, ethical questions, and it touches organizations of all sorts. Ethics is one of these things that you better think about before trouble happens. In fact, it's all about values and how you live up to them, because consistent actions, according to clear values, is an enormous asset for you as a person and for your organization. So we are talking about organizational culture. Again, I think you first have to have this conversation about it with yourself. You have to be very clear about your personal life and what it implies on a public or professional level. And it's very important to be conscious about your personal biases. Then you can take the reflection and the conversation to an organizational level and have it with your colleagues. And with this reflection, you can see how to translate this into organizational culture. But keep in mind that it's all about action and consistency. So there is no real point about having very nice statements printed in bold and not doing anything about it or even acting against it. So here are a few questions to get started with this reflection. What situation I wouldn't be comfortable explaining in public? Did I, or a member of my family, or a friend, benefit from something I did with my position? What are my personal values and the organization's values? Is there a gap with the reality, with the practice? Could someone around you tell you he or she is upset about the decision you have made at work? Do you draw advantages, big or small, that are not directly related to your terms of reference from your professional status? So, I'll put these questions in a document and some more as well. And I'll put the link here in the description below. And if you have questions that can help in the process, please share them in the comments below. Now, what if it's already too late? You know, I think errors are a great way to learn and improve in many areas. However, with ethics, don't make it your strategy for learning. Still, if you've been caught in one of these situations and you realize it too late, it's still time to act after the problem occurred. It's not great, but still it's better than doing as if nothing happened, because these things tend to resurface after some time, and it's never the right time for this. So take your responsibilities, fix the problem wisely, with humility, communicate on your errors and what you did to fix them as soon as possible. That can also be called ethics. Now let me tell you about my encounter with the Minister of Security in Africa. So there I was in Central African Republic. It was April 2011, and at that time that country was quite peaceful. I was there on an administrative mission in a radio from that NGO I was working for. And that day I was in the accounting room doing some work when I heard a discussion coming from the newsroom, and the tone was rising. There was obviously an argument going on, so I came in to see what was going on. There in the newsroom, I found the team of the radio arguing with a quite large person wearing a suit. That guy had just been elected to the parliament, and he was very happy about it. He wanted to give money all around, and the team of the radio was refusing his money because it was against the principles of the radio to do so. The guy was getting really upset, and he was already a bit drunk. He was saying that the team had to take his money because it was his will and that they had to follow. So that could look a bit absurd. Someone getting mad at people because they don't want to take his money. But that was really the right thing for the team to do. They could not take his money. As he saw me, he introduced himself, saying that he had just been elected to the parliament, that he was general in the army and Minister of Security. Now he wanted me to take the money on behalf of the radio. So I told him the same thing that the team had already told him, that we had clear guidelines about this and that we could not accept his money. He still wanted us to take the money. He said we had to do what he wanted because he was general, he was Minister of Security, and he had already killed many people like me. He could put me in jail, and he had put 400 people in jail already. I suggested he made a donation to a charity instead. This lasted a few minutes. In the end, he left, grumbling. He may have realized the absurdity of the situation and sensed that we weren't going to take his money anyway. I never heard from him again. So, ethics means being very clear with your values, and also sometimes appearing a bit stubborn and uncompromising. That's it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please share it around. And please also leave a comment here below to tell me what ethics means for you. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.